Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'd like to show you the progress I'm making on the Swan, trying to get the left hand lighter and even, steady, hearing every note. So I'll give it a try and then I'll stop here and there and show you what I'm working at. And more. So the trick with this piece is to not have the left hand too loud, but to have it even. And if I can think of each single 16th note like a beat on tick on the metronome, tick, 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 beat, 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 and then listen to that beat while I'm playing it, it will stay steady because I'm playing to an actual beat. And so the other thing is to memorize those notes in a way that I create muscle memory. So if I play 4 times on each note, it's called a jackhammer approach. There's a Dr. Loria Peters, I think her last name is, that explains it well on the internet. And it's repeating it 4 times. It's not as easy as you'd think. Do that 3 times till you got it absolutely perfect 3 times in a row, and then reduce it to 3. And then 2. That was a little messy. And then 1. Smooth. And 2. And then 3. is where I can think of the tick of the metronome. Pulse, 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 pulse. I want to link those. Got to overlap. I've got to have a deep finger. And then I can do it uneven. I can go da, 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 da. And then da, 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 da. And I can do triplets. So by the time I get done all of that, the muscles have memorized what the sequence is, and then it's pretty well in my hands. It'll always keep repeating it, that whole series of ways of practicing it for a while, 2 or 3 days, and then it'll be yours, and you won't ever forget it again. And that allows me to think of the metronome, tick, 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 as a beat. Imagine I've got a drum there, and I'm going beat, 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 and every note I have to hear that pulse, that beat. Then and the other thing is, if I can think of a puff of air going up underneath the wrist, this will get me. There's a girl that gives tutorials on the internet. I think she's from Texas, and she shows that if you can use a little puff of air under the wrist, what it does is it gets the energy of your weight, the actual weight of your arm, up over the keys so that you can drop the energy into the steel tip of the finger with a loose, limpid wrist, and have the follow through. So it's going to be a lovely tone, and then you can start to get phrase shaping and make the phrase go like a wave up to the top and come back down, and then eventually keep that so light, but you'll still be in the keys because you're using gravity to let the weight fall into that steel tip and draw the key down as you dive right through to the floor. So that's not too even. I'll try again. As soon as I stop thinking of the drumming on a beat, on a drum for the beat, that I'm hearing a beat, then it tends to get out of control because I'm not thinking of the pulse. I've got to think of a beat that's steady and keep it that way. And then it'll be 1, 2. See, you can just float like the swan on the water because you're trying to make a wave out of the vibration of those wires that go back to the back of the piano and work for the harmonics, the overtones. And when you can have that little bit of a snap with your finger just to bring it the amount you want. If I don't do that, I just sort of get a nothing sound. But I want, if I want it to float. So D. If you can think of this up and down movement, that it's coming in and it's like the neck of the swan. It's got to make that wave. Then, and their feet going like that in the water, paddling and keeping each note buoyant, that the note floats. not trying to play it on the bottom and press the keys, but keeping it buoyant and floating. Then you can start to make the whole piece come together. But it needs all these elements pulled together to make it happen. Not easy, but practicing each of those elements separately a lot lets it come around. And I could pull out the metronome and practice it with that too, just so that I know for sure that I'm hearing the beat and that the notes are on those beats for every note in the left hand, because they're 16ths. The Swan is dying in this piece, so you want to keep that introduction going. You don't want it to slow way down and then start up. It's not that kind of an introduction. It's kind of like the water's been drifting in the little wave with the birds on it, the swans on it, forever. And this is just a continuation. And then as you go through the piece, there's a sense of the swan getting quieter and calmer and ready to pass on. And that's part of the piece. And so you have to have the technique to be able to do it. And that tip of that finger has to be steel. It can't be soft. But the wrist has to be so movable and light and just floating. Just like this air sends it up, that sends the energy up over the keys so that the weight can accelerate down and be what's into the tip of the finger, into that steel tip of the finger, while the wrist has that follow through. It's like falling into a soft pillow, a cushion, lots of air in there. And then the tone doesn't sound abrasive. It sings and it rings and it sounds gorgeous. So anyway, I hope you got something from that. Have a good night now.